Hello, I'm Damian Radcliffe and I'm an Honorary Research Fellow here at the Cardiff School of Journalism, and in this talk I'm going to be walking you through some different ways in which you can measure success in terms of your hyperlocal or community website. Now, the most obvious way in which success is typically recorded is through traffic, and clearly there are a number of websites like West Seattle Blog, Sheffield Forum in the UK and others that enjoy huge amounts of traffic. But that's not the only way to determine whether what you are doing is being successful or not, and perhaps not the only success metric that you might want to come up with to determine whether your site is working for you or not. Here's a few other suggestions, the most obvious of which perhaps is around coverage gaps. So one of the things that we've seen in the last couple of years has been a number of traditional media players often withdrawing from spaces that they had historically been very actively involved in, and this creates a great opportunity for entrepreneurs like yourselves to move into that space and produce coverage that is not necessarily being covered by other media outlets. The second way of looking at this is also a sort of follow-on from that really, and exploring the opportunities to tell unique stories that nobody else is covering. And here's a couple of great examples for you. One, Spitalfields Life from East London, which focuses not so much on news, in fact not at all on news, but instead looks at the characters and people who populate that area and tells their story. And then websites like the East Dulwich Forum in South East London, where we've seen some really successful interactions between members of the local community and a local councillor, providing an opportunity for dialogue and stories that are not necessarily being covered elsewhere. Many hyperlocal websites and community media outlets also spend a lot of time and energy on traditional journalistic activities such as holding local authority to account. And I've listed a couple of examples here of websites that have reported from council meetings or got involved in election coverage to provide a unique, very kind of grassroots level of reporting that's not necessarily being found elsewhere. Alongside this, local campaigns are a popular mainstay for many hyperlocal and community websites. Again, these often tend to be a lot more granular and a lot more niche than those perhaps found in local newspapers or other media which have a much larger footprint. Through all of this, campaigns, telling unique stories, providing coverage that are not necessarily being found elsewhere, you're able to create a sense of community, and that's something that for many publishers is a really important metric. And we've found that through levels of engagement both online and offline on a range of different websites. Through this, there's also opportunities to encourage more civic engagement and citizen participation. That can happen in a number of ways, from just interacting with content that you're posting on your site, as well as through opportunities to use kind of plug-in tools like those produced by Fix My Street, My Society and other entities, which enable you to create a widget that you can put on your website and allows people an opportunity to engage with things like mending potholes, broken lights and so forth, often in a way that they would never do if it meant going to a traditional council or local government website. In the future, I think that people will look back at the work that's been done by community media outlets and people like yourselves and recognise that actually your work is a tremendous repository, a historical repository for understanding what was happening in communities at a particular period in time. If you go to many libraries now, you can go back and look at old newspapers and they'll give you a flavour of what the key issues of the day were in a particular locale. In the future, a lot of that kind of historical analysis will be done through digital means, and I'm really excited about those kind of opportunities, and you should think about the fact that what you're doing is not just about the here and now, but also potentially has huge value to communities, families, businesses and academics at some point in the future. Finally, there's also another different way in which you might want to measure success, which is really based around your motivations for getting involved in community journalism in the first place. For many people, running their own site is all they want to do, but there are others who manage to use it as an opportunity to spin off, develop their skills, and then go on to further roles across the media. There are then those who have come from outside of this world without previous kind of journalistic or media experience, but have set up incredibly successful hyperlocal and community websites, and then others who in turn use the site as an opportunity to leverage additional opportunities for income generation and so forth, which can support running the site on a day-to-day basis. And I've given you a few examples here at the bottom of this slide of just three people who've managed to do that very successfully and in very different ways. If you want to know more about some of the issues that have come up and some of the examples that have been highlighted during this presentation, you can go onto my website, damianradcliffe.com/hyperlocal, and of course also look through other materials that are available during this program. Thank you.